What is going on? Welcome back to Reform Perspective. I'm just going to do a real quick video just because in light of the divisions and all the upheavals that are going around in the United States, I just wanted to say a couple things. I just want us to stop and consider something. And you don't have to agree with me. You can disagree with me completely. That's fine. But I just want you to stop and think. What we're seeing around us, what's happening in the culture and society, in American society, what's happening politically with the division of race, division of politics, what's happening around us, why is this taking place? And there's two categories that I want us to consider. And one is the very popular, almost across the board belief, and that is that the reason all of this is happening, the reason these politics are so divided, the reason the nation is so divided is because God is getting ready to do a tremendous act of revival, a tremendous act of healing to the nation. And let me tell you guys, I'm praying for this, okay? I'm praying that God will bring this about. I'm hoping and praying that God does do a tremendous work, that revival does happen. That's my prayer. That's my hope. And I think for the most part, almost every evangelical, every Christian really desires to see this happen, for this to take place, for there to be a huge revival, for nations to be healed, for politicians to be united, for the church to receive a harvest of souls. And they want to see what happened during the Jesus movement. Because for most people, for most evangelicals, especially the older generation, they see what happened with the Jesus movement, and they see what's happening today, and they say that's exactly what happened during the Jesus movement. There was all this turmoil, and there was the Vietnam War, and there was the hippie movement, and the drug culture, and this explosion of all these immoral things taking place, and yet a huge revival came out of that. And so a lot of people believe that that's what's going to happen this time. And that may be. But I want us to consider the other side, but also taking into consideration that the Jesus movement was on the precipice. It was on the very precipice of Roe versus Wade happening, which has resulted in over 58 million babies being killed and aborted since then. 58 million babies aborted since then. It was on the precipice of God being systematically taken out of the educational system, systematically taken out of the culture, the removing of the Ten Commandments, the removing of prayer from schools, the removing of being able to proselytize in schools and in communities. That was right on the precipice. The revival happened just as all these other things were taking place. And since then, we've seen the mass murder of millions, the systematic removal of God from every system of government and education and public system. And we've also seen the agenda of the homosexual community coming out in full force against the church and against biblical doctrine and biblical beliefs. The legalization of the usage of marijuana for recreational purposes, just to smoke as one pleases. The transgender movement, the denial that we are made in the image of God and therefore have specific genders assigned to us as male and female. All of this has now been taking place in the United States. And so now we see a division in the United States that looks exactly the same as when it was happening right before the Jesus movement, but without all the other things happening as well. So I want us to take into consideration this other aspect, this other side, that I think could also be a legitimate way of seeing things. The reason we see the divisions, the reason we see the evils, the reason we see just the mass society and cultural secularism, the reason we see all of this is not perhaps God, not because God is going to get ready to do a revival, which again, I'm praying God does. But the other side is, this could be the sign of the beginning of the end of the United States. This could be the beginning of God's wrath upon the United States for its murder of children, for its systematic removal of God from every public system, for the homosexual agenda, the transgender agenda, all of these things taking place that are contrary to the holiness and the law of God. And the United States is starting to see the effects of society that rejects God. And I believe that we should take that one even more into consideration. That this could be the beginning of the end of the United States. Nations have risen and fallen. In the past, the United States is no different. It is another secular system within the world. And by the looks of it, it could be the end for the United States. I'm praying for the nation. I'm praying for you guys. Please pray. Continue praying. God bless you guys.